The cold metal walls of the alien ship hummed with a sound that made human ears ache. Deep in the medical bay, rows of glass containers lined the sterile room. Inside each container, a different creature floated in glowing blue liquid. Most were already dead. Their bodies had rejected the experiments. The aliens did not care. They simply moved on to the next subject. Commander Vex walked between the containers on his 4 legs. His insect-like body gleamed under the harsh lights. Multiple eyes scanned the data flowing across holographic screens. He was searching for success but finding only failure after failure. He stopped in front of Container 79. Inside floated a human baby, barely 6 months old. The infant's name was Ethan Carter, though the aliens did not bother to learn it. To them he was just Subject 793. Another test specimen. Another chance to prove their theories. Ethan had been taken 3 weeks ago. The Krelath had attacked a human refugee transport fleeing from the destroyed colony of New Terra. While the adult humans fought desperately to protect their ships, alien soldiers swept through the civilian sections. They took what they wanted. Children. Babies. The youngest humans whose bodies might still be shaped and changed. The Krelath Empire was vast and powerful. They had conquered hundreds of worlds. But they were not satisfied. They wanted to create the perfect soldier. Workers who never tired. Warriors who healed from any wound. Servants who would obey without question. They believed the secret lay in combining the genetics of different species. Humans were particularly interesting to them. These weak, soft creatures had spread across dozens of star systems despite having no natural weapons. No claws. No armor. No venom. Yet somehow they survived. The Krelath wanted to understand why. More importantly, they wanted to control it. For 3 weeks they had pumped Ethan full of chemicals. Regeneration serums that would make soldiers heal faster. Neural enhancers that would make workers smarter. Genetic modifiers that would make their bodies stronger. Each injection pushed his tiny body to the edge of death. And each time, somehow, Ethan lived. His heart would stop, then start again. His breathing would fail, then resume. His tiny body would go cold and lifeless, then suddenly warm up once more. The medical machines recorded it all, but the Krelath scientists could not understand what they were seeing. Vex studied the latest results with growing frustration. The human infant was not responding the way their models predicted. The serums were changing him, yes, but in strange and useless ways. His body temperature kept fluctuating wildly. His cells were restructuring themselves in patterns that made no sense. His brain activity showed unusual spikes during the healing process. But he could not breathe fire like a dragon. Could not survive in vacuum like a space-adapted species. Could not grow armor like the warrior races they had tested before. The child was simply adapting to survive the experiments themselves. That was worthless to the Krelath. Subject 793 shows no useful compatibility, Vex reported through his neural communication link. His superiors received the data instantly across the ship. Human genetics remained too primitive. Too unpredictable. Recommend termination and disposal. The response came back within seconds. Approved. Dispose of failed specimen. Proceed to next batch of subjects. Vex felt no emotion as he prepared the disposal pod. The Krelath did not feel guilt or mercy. Those were weaknesses. The Empire had not conquered the galaxy by caring about failed experiments. He lifted the unconscious baby from the containment tank. Ethan's small body was covered in injection marks. Scars from where they had cut him open to examine his organs. Burns from radiation tests. His skin should have been destroyed by what they had done to him. Yet it was already healing, new skin growing over the wounds in ways that should have been impossible for such a young creature. Vex placed him in the basic life pod. It had minimal life support. Just enough oxygen to last a few days. No navigation system. No distress beacon. The pod would keep Ethan alive long enough to enter the atmosphere of the planet below, then nature would take its course. The child would die from the crash, or from starvation, or from whatever predators lived on that primitive world. The Krelath had scanned the planet briefly. It showed volcanic activity and a medieval-level civilization of some kind. Perfect for disposal. No advanced technology to detect the pod. No space capability to investigate alien arrivals. Vex sealed the pod and loaded it into the launch tube. He pressed the release button without ceremony. The pod shot out into space, tumbling toward the red and orange planet below. Inside the pod, Ethan's tiny body lay unconscious. But his cells were working frantically. The alien chemicals were still in his bloodstream, still changing him. Human DNA was fighting back against the modifications, but also incorporating them in unexpected ways. Something ancient and dormant in humanity's genetic code was waking up. A survival instinct that had carried humans from caves to starships. The pod began to heat up as it hit the atmosphere. It streaked across the alien sky like a falling star, burning bright orange and red. Inside, Ethan's heart beat steadily. His small chest rose and fell with each breath. Against all odds, he was still alive. The pod crashed into a mountain range with tremendous force. Metal crumpled. Systems failed. Warning lights flashed uselessly in the wreckage. But the baby inside did not die. His eyes remained closed. His breathing continued. His enhanced body was already healing from the impact. The Krelath had thrown him away like garbage. They thought they had disposed of a failed experiment. They had no idea what they had actually done. They had taken a human child and pushed his biology beyond its limits. They had activated evolutionary triggers that humans did not even know existed. They had created something new. And they had just given him away to a world of dragons. The morning sun rose over the volcanic mountains of Drakenheim. Elder Dragon Ashwing stretched his massive copper and gold wings, preparing for his daily patrol flight. He was old, nearly 300 years, and his scales had begun to dull with age. But his eyes remained sharp and he took his duties seriously. He launched himself from the cliff edge, powerful wings catching the warm air rising from the volcanic vents below. The world of Drakenheim was beautiful in the early light. Rivers of lava flowed like glowing ribbons through the dark rock. Steam geysers erupted in rhythmic patterns. The dragon cities were carved into the mountainsides, their entrances decorated with precious metals and gems. Ashwing had flown this route for decades. He knew every peak, every valley, every cave. So when he saw the smoking crater in the Black Peak Mountains, he knew immediately something was wrong. He changed direction and dove toward the crash site. His keen eyes spotted the strange metal object half buried in the rocky ground. It was unlike anything from his world. The metal was smooth and silver, covered in strange symbols and lights that still flickered weakly. Ashwing landed carefully, his massive claws sending small rocks tumbling down the mountainside. He approached the wreckage cautiously. Dragons had legends of sky demons and star monsters. Could this be one of them? He used one careful claw to pry open the damaged pod. The metal groaned and bent under his strength. Inside, cushioned by some kind of soft material, lay a tiny creature. Ashwing had lived for 3 centuries and traveled across much of his world. He had seen many species. But this creature was new to him. It had no scales, no fur, no feathers. Just soft pink skin. It was tiny, helpless, and covered in strange marks that looked like old wounds. The creature was breathing. Ashwing could see its small chest rising and falling. It was alive despite the terrible crash. Despite the injuries on its body. Despite being alone in this harsh volcanic landscape. "What are you?" Ashwing whispered in the dragon language. The creature did not answer. Its eyes remained closed. A shadow passed overhead. Ashwing looked up to see Ruby descending. She was a young warrior dragon, barely 50 years old, with brilliant crimson scales that shone like fire. She landed beside him with aggressive grace, her tail swishing with barely contained energy. "What have you found, Elder?" Ruby asked. Her voice was sharp, alert. Warriors were always looking for threats. "A child," Ashwing said simply. "From the sky." Ruby moved closer, her nostrils flaring as she sniffed the strange creature. Her eyes widened slightly. Something about this tiny being called to her. Perhaps it was the way it lay so helpless and alone. Perhaps it was her own grief. She had lost her hatchling just 2 months ago to the burning sickness. Her nest was empty. Her heart was broken. "It is warm," she said softly, surprised. "Like fire burns inside it." Another dragon landed with a heavy thud that shook the ground. Drake was master of the warrior clans, huge and battle-scarred. His dark green scales were marked with scars from 100 fights. He did not like surprises or mysteries. "This creature must be destroyed," Drake announced immediately. "It comes from beyond our world. It could bring disease. Could be a weapon. We cannot risk our people for one unknown thing." "It is a baby," Ruby said, her voice taking on a dangerous edge. "Look at it, Drake. It is helpless." "Which makes it worthless," Drake replied coldly. "Why should we waste resources on something that cannot even feed itself?" Ashwing studied the infant more carefully. There was something unusual about it. The wounds on its body were healing even as he watched. New skin was growing over the scars. That was not normal for any species he knew. And the warmth Ruby mentioned was strange too. The creature's body temperature seemed to shift and change. "We must bring this to the council," Ashwing decided. This is too important for us to decide alone. The Dragon Council met in the great chamber carved into the heart of Mount Ember. 50 dragons of various ages and colors filled the vast space. The debate was fierce and loud. Dragons did not whisper or hide their opinions. Most wanted the creature destroyed or sent away. It was alien, unknown, potentially dangerous. Some argued it might attract more sky demons. Others said it would consume resources needed for dragon hatchlings. But Ashwing stood firm. He was old and respected. When he spoke, others listened. "We have the Code of the Foundling," he reminded them. "Written by our ancestors 5,000 years ago. Any helpless creature that arrives without malice must be given sanctuary. This is our oldest law." "But it is not a dragon," Drake argued. "The code was meant for our own kind." "The code says any creature," Ashwing corrected. "Our ancestors were wise. They knew that mercy and honor are what separate us from beasts." Ruby stepped forward. "I will raise it," she announced. Her voice was steady despite her grief. "I have a nest and no hatchling. I have milk and no mouth to feed. Give me this creature, and I will care for it as my own." The council was silent. Everyone knew Ruby's pain. She had been a fierce warrior until her hatchling died. Since then she had become distant and cold. Perhaps this strange creature could help her heal. The vote was close. 26 dragons voted to give the creature sanctuary. 24 voted against. It passed by the smallest margin. The chief healer, an ancient white dragon named Frost, examined the baby thoroughly. She used her magic to sense the life force within the creature. What she found amazed her. "This child has been changed," Frost reported to the council. "Something has been done to its body. Its bones are too dense. Its blood heals too fast. Its mind shows unusual patterns. This is not a natural creature. It has been shaped by something powerful." "Is it dangerous?" Drake demanded. "I do not know," Frost admitted. "But I sense great potential. This creature adapts. His body learns and changes. I have never seen anything like it." Ruby carried the baby carefully in her claws back to her nest high in the mountains. The nest was warm from volcanic heat rising through cracks in the rock. She had built it for her lost hatchling. Now it would shelter this strange sky child. She laid the baby gently on the soft furs and heated stones. For the first time in months, Ruby felt something other than grief. She felt purpose. "I will call you Ethan Flameborn," she decided, using words from the old dragon language. "For you fell from the sky in fire and you survived." The baby stirred for the first time. His eyes opened slowly. They were blue, the color of the sky. He looked up at the massive dragon face above him and did not cry. Instead, his tiny hand reached up toward her. Ruby felt her heart crack open. This was not her hatchling. This creature was not even her species. But in that moment she became his mother and he became her son. Neither of them knew that this moment would change the fate of two species and reshape the galaxy forever. 15 years passed like smoke on the wind. Ethan stood at the edge of the cliff, watching his dragon siblings practice their flying skills. Spark, his adopted brother with bright orange scales, dove through the air with effortless grace. He twisted and turned, breathing jets of flame that lit up the morning sky. Other young dragons joined him, their wings catching the thermals rising from the volcanic vents below. Ethan felt the familiar ache in his chest. He would never fly like them. He would never breathe fire. He would always be different, always bound to the ground while his family soared through the clouds. "You are thinking too much again, little brother," Ruby's warm voice came from behind him. She settled her massive body beside him, her crimson scales gleaming in the sunlight. Age had only made her more beautiful. "I cannot do what they do," Ethan said quietly. He was tall now, over 6 feet, with lean muscles built from climbing mountains and hunting in the volcanic highlands. His dark hair was long, tied back in the dragon style. But he was still human, still different from everyone he loved. "No," Ruby agreed, nuzzling him gently with her enormous head. "But you can do things they cannot. You climb cliffs that would challenge any dragon. You create tools that amaze our craftsmen. You think in ways that surprise our wisest elders." It was true. Ethan had grown up in dragon culture, but his human mind worked differently. While dragons relied on their natural strength and fire, Ethan used his hands and brain to solve problems. He had created a bow that could shoot arrows further than any dragon could throw a spear. He had designed climbing gear with ropes and hooks that let him scale sheer cliff faces faster than dragons could fly straight up. He had even improved the dragon forges, making them burn hotter and use less fuel. The dragons had been amazed by his inventions. They had no hands like his, only claws. They had never thought to create tools because they did not need them. But Ethan showed them how tools could make even the strong stronger. Still, he felt incomplete. He lived between two worlds, fully belonging to neither. His thoughts were interrupted by a sound that made his blood run cold. A deep humming that came from the sky. Ethan looked up and saw something that did not belong. A silver ship, smooth and metallic, descending through the clouds. "Ruby!" Ethan shouted. "Get everyone to safety. Now!" Dragons did not frighten easily, but they trusted Ethan's instincts. Ruby roared a warning that echoed across the mountains. Within minutes, the young dragons were fleeing toward the caves. But they were not fast enough. The alien ship opened hatches in its belly. Dozens of figures dropped out, falling toward the dragon settlement below. They wore armor that gleamed in the sunlight. Energy weapons glowed in their hands. The Kreelath had returned. Ethan's heart pounded as memories flooded back. Memories he did not know he had. The cold laboratory. The pain. Being discarded like trash. His human mind had buried these memories to protect him, but seeing the aliens brought it all crashing back. He ran toward the settlement, his enhanced body moving faster than any normal human could. The alien experiments had changed him in ways even he did not fully understand. His legs carried him down the mountain path at incredible speed. His enhanced eyes saw every detail of the aliens landing below. By the time he arrived, the Kreelath soldiers had surrounded Ruby. She was protecting a group of young hatchlings, her body curved around them defensively. Energy weapons were pointed at her head. One wrong move and they would fire. Commander Vex stood at the center of the alien formation. His insect-like body was covered in ceremonial armor now. He had been searching for 15 years, tracking the strange biosignature that his sensors detected on this primitive world. When he finally confirmed it was Subject 793, he could hardly believe it. The failed experiment had not only survived but thrived. "The human specimen will come with us," Vex announced in his clicking language. "Resist and the dragons die." Something broke inside Ethan. These creatures had stolen him from his birth family. They had tortured him, thrown him away. And now they wanted to threaten his real family, the family that had raised him and loved him. Rage filled him, hot and pure like dragon fire. Ethan moved before the aliens could react. 15 years of dragon combat training combined with human speed and unpredictability. He was not as strong as a dragon, but he was faster and smarter than any Kreelath expected. His bow sang. The first arrow took a soldier in the gap between helmet and chest plate. The second arrow hit another in the knee joint. Ethan had studied their armor for years in his nightmares. He knew where it was weak. He used the terrain like dragons never would. Rolled behind rocks for cover. Grabbed his climbing rope and swung it to tangle alien legs. Used his dragon-forged knife to slice through the flexible parts of their armor. One soldier managed to grab him. Ethan felt his body temperature spike automatically, a defense mechanism he did not fully understand. His skin became burning hot. The alien screamed and let go, his hand blistered and smoking. Another soldier fired a stunner at him. The weapon was designed to knock out most species instantly. Ethan felt the electricity course through his body. It hurt terribly, but his enhanced nervous system adapted within seconds. He shook off the paralysis and kept fighting. The Kreelath realized their mistake. This was not the helpless baby they had discarded. This was something new, something dangerous. A human raised by dragons, combining the tactical thinking of Earth with the combat ferocity of Drakenheim. Ruby joined the fight, breathing fire that melted alien armor. Other dragons arrived, attacking from the sky. The Kreelath had expected primitive resistance. Instead, they faced coordinated assault led by a human who understood both technology and dragon warfare. The aliens retreated to their ship, but Ethan managed to capture one soldier. He dragged the struggling Kreelath into a cave while Ruby guarded the entrance. Ethan ripped off the alien's helmet and accessed the computer built into his armor. What he found there made his hands shake with rage and grief. Files about humanity. Images of destroyed colonies. Lists of dead worlds. The Kreelath had been systematically hunting humans across the galaxy, viewing them as threats or useful test subjects. His people were nearly extinct. And then he found his own file. Subject 793. Real name Ethan Carter. Stolen from refugee transport. Parents, Michael and Lisa Carter, status deceased. He stared at images of two smiling humans he did not remember. His birth parents. Dead because of these monsters. That night, Ethan sat with Ashwing and Ruby reviewing the stolen data. The old elder dragon looked grave. "They will return with greater force," Ashwing said. "We have embarrassed them. They will not let that stand." Then we prepare, Ethan said, his voice hard as steel. I have been trained by the best warriors in the galaxy. You have taught me everything you know. Now I will teach you what I have learned. We will show the Krelath what happens when you throw away a human and give him a family worth fighting for. Ruby placed her massive head against his shoulder. You are my son, she said fiercely. And dragons protect their family. Always. The Krelath invasion fleet arrived 6 days later. 30 massive warships filled the sky above Drakenheim, blocking out the sun. Ethan stood on the highest peak, watching the dropships descend like a swarm of metal locusts. Thousands of alien soldiers poured out, spreading across the volcanic landscape. Commander Vex had brought overwhelming force this time. He would not be embarrassed again. He would capture the human, crush these primitive dragons, and prove to his superiors that he could finish what he started 15 years ago. But the dragons were not where Vex expected them to be. The settlements were empty. The caves were abandoned. His soldiers found nothing but cold nests and extinguished fires. Then the attacks began. Dragons erupted from volcanic vents that the aliens had not known existed. They came from below, breathing fire that melted armor and weapons. Before the Krelath could respond, the dragons disappeared back into the lava tubes, using paths that Ethan had mapped for them. Ethan had spent 6 days transforming dragon warfare. Dragons had always fought alone, each warrior relying on personal strength and pride. But Ethan taught them human tactics. Ambushes. Hit-and-run attacks. Working together as coordinated teams. He positioned dragons in the narrow mountain passes, creating choke points where alien technology meant nothing. He showed them how to use the terrain, the volcanic steam, even the falling ash to their advantage. The Krelath could not target what they could not see. Ethan himself moved like a ghost through the battlefield. His bow never stopped singing. Each arrow was tipped with dragon fire poison that Frost the Healer had created. One scratch and the alien soldiers burned from the inside. He wore dark clothing that blended with the volcanic rock. His enhanced body let him climb surfaces no Krelath could follow. For 3 days the battle raged. The dragons lost warriors. Ethan saw friends fall, their bodies broken by alien weapons. Each death cut him deeply. But they were winning. The mighty Krelath army was bleeding. Then Vex changed tactics. If he could not capture the planet, he would destroy it. The massive extinction device descended from his flagship. A weapon designed to ignite the planet's volcanic core and turn the entire world into burning slag. Ethan watched the device deploy and felt despair for the first time. They had fought so hard, but it would not matter. In hours, everyone he loved would be dead. Ruby found him staring at the weapon. We fought well, my son, she said quietly. It is not over, Ethan said, though he did not believe his own words. Spark landed beside them, bleeding from a wound on his wing. Brother, there is something you should see. We found a structure in the northern wastes. It has the same metal as the pod you arrived in. Hope sparked in Ethan's chest. He climbed onto Ruby's back, and they flew north through the smoke and ash. Other dragons provided cover, fighting off alien patrols that tried to follow. The northern wastes were a dead zone, covered in volcanic ash and poisonous gases. Nothing lived there. But Ethan's enhanced eyes spotted what Spark had seen. A metal structure, half buried, with symbols he somehow recognized even though he had never learned to read human writing. They landed, and Ethan dug frantically with his hands. The metal was hot, but his adapted skin could handle it. After an hour of digging, he found the entrance. The door recognized his handprint. It slid open with a hiss, revealing stairs leading down into darkness. Emergency lights flickered on as he descended. Ruby was too large to follow, so Ethan went alone into the buried human base. The computer core activated when it detected him. Welcome, survivor, a mechanical voice spoke in a language Ethan barely remembered. English. His birth language. I am Defense System 7, last guardian of Colony New Terra. Awaiting orders. Ethan's hands shook as he accessed the files. He saw the history of the colony. The Krelath attack. The desperate evacuation. His parents loading him onto a refugee ship before staying behind to fight. They had died buying time for others to escape. Tears ran down his face as he watched the final messages. His mother's face on the screen. If anyone finds this, know that humanity does not surrender. We endure. We survive. We come back stronger. Then he found the beacon protocol. The free human fleet was still out there, still fighting, still searching for survivors. All he had to do was activate the signal. Ethan pressed the button without hesitation. A powerful transmission burst into space, carrying his location and a simple message, human survivor requesting aid. He did not know if anyone would hear it. He did not know if help would come in time. But he had to try. The base was full of weapons. Human plasma rifles. Combat armor designed for his body type. Vehicles and equipment. And something that made his heart race with excitement. Exosuit technology. Powered armor that would let a human fight alongside creatures much larger and stronger. Ethan loaded everything he could carry. He put on the combat armor, feeling it adjust to fit his body perfectly. The weapons hummed with deadly energy in his hands. He had been raised by dragons, but he was still human. And humans had built these tools for one purpose: to fight back. When he emerged from the bunker, Ruby gasped. He looked like something from ancient dragon legends. A warrior of metal and fire, carrying weapons that glowed with blue light. "Now we have a chance," Ethan said. His voice was amplified by the armor speakers. "Gather every dragon who can fight. We are going to show Vex what happens when you throw away a human and give him time to prepare." Ashwing landed beside them, his old eyes gleaming with fierce joy. "You have become something unique, Ethan Flameborn. Not fully human, not fully dragon, but the best of both." Ethan looked up at the extinction device hovering in the sky. "That weapon has a weak point. All technology does. I just need to get close enough to destroy it. Then we fly," Ruby said. "Together. As family." The dragons gathered, nearly 200 warriors from all the clans. They had lost many, but those who remained were hardened by battle and inspired by the strange human who had become one of them. Ethan stood before them, wearing human armor but carrying dragon weapons too. "The Kreelath think we are beaten," he shouted. "They think we are primitive and weak. They are wrong. Today we teach them that some things are worth more than technology. Some things cannot be destroyed by weapons or fear. Family. Honor. The courage to stand when everything says to run." The dragons roared their approval, the sound echoing across the mountains like thunder. "For Drakenheim," Ethan shouted. "For Drakenheim," the dragons answered. They took to the sky as one force, dragons and human united, flying toward the extinction device and the final battle that would decide the fate of two species. The combined force of dragons and Ethan flew toward the massive extinction device. It hung in the sky like a dark metal moon, energy building inside its core. Kreelath fighters tried to intercept them, but the dragons had learned human tactics. They worked together, covering each other, moving in formations that confused the enemy. Ethan rode on Ruby's back, his plasma rifle firing at alien ships. His enhanced eyes tracked targets with perfect accuracy. The human armor protected him from return fire. He was no longer the helpless baby they had thrown away. He was a weapon they had created and then foolishly given to their enemies. "The device has shields," Ashwing called out. "We cannot get through." Ethan studied the weapon with his human tactical mind. Every machine had a weakness. Every shield had a gap. He spotted it. The power conduits feeding the shield generators were exposed on the underside, protected only by the assumption that no one could get close enough. "I need 10 dragons to draw their fire," Ethan shouted. "The rest follow me underneath." Spark led the decoy team, diving at the device from above. Kreelath guns tracked them, firing streams of energy. While the aliens were distracted, Ethan and 50 dragons swept in from below. "There," Ethan pointed. "Those conduits. Hit them with everything you have." Dragon fire and plasma bolts struck the exposed machinery. Sparks exploded. Alarms screamed. The shields flickered and died. "Now the core," Ethan commanded. "Burn it." 100 dragons unleashed their fire at once. The extinction device began to tear itself apart from the inside. Energy feedback surged through its systems. Kreelath technicians scrambled to shut it down, but it was too late. The device exploded in a massive fireball that lit up the sky. Dragons scattered in all directions, riding the shockwave. Ethan held tight to Ruby's scales as they tumbled through the air. Commander Vex watched his ultimate weapon die and felt something he had not experienced in decades: fear. These primitives had just destroyed technology that had ended civilizations. How was that possible? Then the sky tore open. Massive rifts appeared in space as ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Human warships, scarred and battered from years of fighting, emerged by the dozens. Fighters poured from their carriers like angry hornets. The human fleet had heard Ethan's beacon and come at full speed. "This is Admiral Margaret Stone of the Free Human Fleet," a voice boomed across all communication channels. "You are attacking human survivors and their allies. Surrender or be destroyed." The Kreelath fleet found itself trapped between dragon fire below and human fury above. For the first time in centuries, the mighty Kreelath Empire faced real defeat. Ethan did not wait for the battle to finish. He knew where Vex would be. the command ship trying to retreat. Ruby flew faster than she ever had before, carrying her son toward his destiny. They crashed through the ship's hangar shields. Ethan jumped from Ruby's back, his boots hitting the metal deck hard. Krelath soldiers tried to stop him, but he moved through them like a storm. His plasma rifle sang. His dragon-forged blade cut through armor. He was unstoppable. He found Vex in the command center, surrounded by failing computer screens and panicking crew members. The alien commander turned to face the human he had created and destroyed 15 years ago. "You were supposed to die," Vex said, his voice clicking with confusion and rage. "You were nothing. A failed experiment. Worthless." Ethan raised his weapon, finger on the trigger. It would be so easy. This creature had taken everything from him. His birth parents. His human childhood. He deserved to die. But Ethan thought of Ruby, who had shown him love when he had nothing. Ashwing, who had taught him wisdom. Spark, who had treated him as a true brother. They had taught him that being strong did not mean being cruel. That mercy was not weakness. He lowered his weapon. "That is the difference between us," Ethan said quietly. "You broke me and threw me away. But you gave me to a family that taught me something you will never understand. Compassion. The strongest humans are not the ones who kill. They are the ones who choose mercy even when they have been hurt." He placed Vex under arrest rather than executing him. Let the galaxy see what humanity really was. The battle ended within the hour. The Krelath fleet retreated, their ships damaged and their pride shattered. It was their first major defeat in 200 years. Admiral Stone's shuttle landed near the Dragon settlement. She was an older woman with gray hair and tired eyes that had seen too much war. She walked slowly toward Ethan, studying the young man in human armor standing beside a massive red dragon. "Ethan Carter," she said softly. "Your parents' names were Michael and Lisa. They were heroes. They died saving others during the evacuation. They would be so proud of who you have become." Ethan felt tears running down his face. "I do not remember them," he admitted. "That is all right," the Admiral said. "Family is not just about memory. It is about choice. And you have chosen well." She looked at the dragons gathered around them. "We would like to establish an alliance. Humanity needs friends. And it seems you have found a family worth standing with." Ethan looked at Ruby, at Ashwing, at Spark and all the dragons who had risked their lives for him. Then he looked at the human ships in the sky, carrying survivors of his species. "I am human," he said finally. "But I am also dragon. I lost one family but I found another. Maybe that is what humanity does best. We adapt. We survive. We make family wherever we land." The alliance was sealed that day. Human engineers and dragon craftsmen began working together. Dragon warriors trained alongside human soldiers. Two species so different, learning that their differences made them stronger together. Years passed. Other lost humans were found across the galaxy. Each had adapted to their new homes, changed by their environments but still human at heart. The Krelath had tried to destroy humanity by scattering them across the stars. Instead, they had seeded the galaxy with humanity's greatest gift. The ability to survive anywhere. To adapt to anything. To make family with anyone willing to stand together. Ethan stood on his cliff again, now 30 years old. He watched mixed squadrons of dragons and human fighters training together in the sky. Ruby settled beside him, older now but still strong. "No regrets?" she asked. Ethan smiled, touching her warm scales. "The Krelath thought throwing me away would be the end. They did not understand that you cannot kill humanity by breaking us apart. We just grow back stronger in new and unexpected ways." He looked up at the stars, where human and dragon ships patrolled together, protecting a civilization built not on conquest but on the simple truth that family is not about blood or species. It is about choosing to stand together no matter how different you are.